Good morning, everybody. What's going on? What's going on? This is Leonard Miles, aka 2 Degrees in the CDL, and you know how I always do, just coming to you all straight with the news. Um, it's been an uptick of CDL fraud, going on lately. So they just require me to do a little bit of research, and there's so much stuff that once I'm really settled off the road, I gotta get some equipment first. But I'm gonna go live and talk about different topics. But CDL fraud is definitely gonna be at the top of my list because just even a few weeks ago, I think I reported last week about a trucking company up in Illinois. They got caught you know doing CDL fraud. Had people with earpieces in their ear during the written test. Then you had, the thing that happened down in Massachusetts, with the state troopers, passing, CDL students up in that area, basically doing favor for favors. They were in cahoots with the CDL instructors. So they were getting paid, to, not do everything all the way fully as far as, making sure that, they understood how to do pre-trip, the maneuvers, and even the road test. That comprises all of the skills tests, but they just weren't even prepared for that. They just basically, hey, you pay me, and I sign it off on it, and that's fraud. Yeah, you got that CDL, but you didn't earn that CDL. That's fraudulent. And then even a few months ago, back in September, I reported on a guy, and I forgot what his name is, but I'll drop all these YouTube links in the description just so you all can go back and look at the video. But even with that case, a guy he was from Houston, Texas. He was under the influence, and he killed a deputy sheriff out in Tennessee. And then come to find out, his CDL had been taken away already, a while ago. And it, basically it's because, he didn't complete the SAP program. And the company that he worked with, they turned a blind eye to it. And, they were held accountable as well. FMCSA shut them down. So, a lot of fraud is going on, but we're going to just get right into it. I could talk about it for days, but let's just get into this article. And this article was done back in January 14th, 2021. But, everything from this article is kind of, rearing its head, right now. So let's just talk about it. CDL fraud could rise under relaxed requirements. Rule change may net more drivers for the industry, but will the propensity for fraud increase as well? Well, we know the answer to that. Let's go ahead and keep reading. Tractor trailers and automobiles may share the roadways, but not everyone has the right to drive in the proverbial truck lane. Obtaining a commercial driver's license, CDL, is a rite of passage for any driver eager to traverse the wide world of logistics. However, this rite of passage isn't a right; it must be earned. That's key right there. It has to be earned, not given to you because you paid under the table, but it has to be earned. As the trucking industry continues to grapple with a driver shortage as well as coronavirus-related delays in CDL issuance, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, issued a final rule in December to lessen the difficulty in obtaining a CDL. The ruling came in response to complaints that the knowledge and skills test standards were too restrictive. Federal regulators hope that relaxing the rules will provide states more flexibility to test CDL applicants and allow more drivers to safely enter the industry. I'll be honest with you all again. When I got my CDL down at South Georgia Technical College in Americus, Georgia, it was not a watered down process. Like, I don't know what the process was, before, but we had to know that entire truck, period, front to back. And if you missed a word, you failed. So I don't know what this watered down process is now, but when I took it almost, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, it was not watered down at all. You had to know that truck. You had to know the ins and outs of it. And definitely when you got into that end cab, when it came to doing Um, the truck and trailer brakes, if you missed a word, man, you had to come back and retest. But let's continue. The rule change may net more drivers for the industry, but will the propensity for CDL fraud increase as well? That's a concern of Reliance Partners Director of Safety Brian Reynolds, who believes federal regulators may be jumping the gun and that the rule change probably won't do much to bring drivers into the industry. I think they're placing a small band-aid on the much bigger problem, which is that the industry isn't attracting drivers at a rate greater than those leaving, Reynolds said. Does there need to be something to fix the testing process? Probably. Is it this? I have my reservations. The final rule allows third-party CDL skills instructors to perform both the instruction and the qualifying testing for the same applicant in an arrangement that was previously prohibited. States on an individual basis can now allow qualified third-party skills trainers access to both areas of testing. So at my school down in South Georgia Tech, if the instructors were training you, the instructors weren't testing you. So yeah, that didn't happen at our school. So if you were being trained by a certain instructor, you weren't going to be tested by the instructor. You're going to be tested by an entirely different instructor. One of our guys, who did the testing, he worked for I want to say HelloFresh out of Atlanta, well, down in that South Georgia area, but he go back and forth. But he was also applying with the state of Georgia as well to be he was a certified instructor, but yeah, he would come basically on his off days, to test students. And sometimes a DOT representative would come down there with him as well, but majority of the time it was just him. And he didn't play. Once again, if you didn't know the information, he'd tell you what you need to work on and you come back. All right, let's continue. The final rule goes into effect 60 days after it is published in the Federal Register. Reynolds fears that easing regulations may result in an uptick in CDL fraud in driver schools. We've already seen that with some of these driver schools out here. There's a lot of schools out there that do things the right way, but there are some that don't. Pay your fee and we'll give you a CDL, Reynolds said. Explain that unqualified drivers are often passed anyway because they pay schools under the table. The faster they can pass, the faster they can bring more in. FreightWaves has reported on a number of cases on CDL fraud over the past couple of years. For example, in 2019, a former California Department of Motor Vehicles employee received 22 months in federal prison for CDL fraud. Aaron Gilliam pled guilty to conspiracy to commit bribery, identity fraud, and unauthorized access of a computer for his role in accessing the DMV's database to alter CDL applicants' records to show that they had passed the written exam, even though they hadn't. Some applicants never even took the test. Fraud. Sorry if y'all hear all that noise in the background. That's a lot of rain. I'm up here in West Virginia. But fraud, man. Fraud. You passing people knowing they didn't earn it. You got to earn it. Let's continue. Court documents show that Gilliam worked alongside two co-conspirators who happened to be owners of truck driving schools in Southern California themselves. It's alleged that the two would receive money from students, then pass it along to Gilliam and other DMV employees to provide CDLs without applicants having to take or pass the written and behind the wheel driving examination. Sound like the same thing that some of those state troopers did up there in Massachusetts. In another case, a former CDL tester with the Mississippi Highway Patrol was arrested in 2019 for her alleged role in a similar scheme. Tanya Davis stated that individuals had passed the driver's skills knowing the tests were never administered, according to authorities. Between September 2017 and January 2018, it is alleged that Davis unlawfully used someone else's name and testing information. FreightWaves reports that over $7 million in fines, forfeiture, and restitution, in addition to more than 54 years in total incarceration for individuals sentenced in CDL fraud, have been recorded by federal investigators over the past 4 years. Reynolds said, "We know where fraud occurred before, but I'm not going to say that's where we see fraud again. It's quite possibly that we may see more oversight in those areas because of that." Reynolds isn't alone in voicing his concern. For instance, the Truckload Carriers Association noted that enforcement will be necessary to eliminate the possibility for fraud by bad actors who simply want to profit monetarily from the new regulatory flexibility. Overall, TCA is on board with the rule change despite its reservations. In response to the criticism of TCA and others, FMCSA stated that it continues to believe that lifting the restriction will not diminish highway safety. Extensive requirements and resources are currently in place to help FMCSA and the states maintain the integrity of the process and identify irregularities in skills testing. Reynolds believes that fraud, if it occurs, will be less likely to be found among motor carriers, as he credits fleets for being generally proactive in reducing insurance risk. He said that the possibility of fraud would likely lie at the school level rather than with carriers operating their own school or training program because of potential liability. I see that as less likely to occur within trucking companies that have their own training program because insurance-wise, they have a lot at stake when they pass a student and put them on the road, Reynolds said. They already have to worry about negligent training, negligent entrustment, and negligent hiring. Would they want to throw negligent testing on top of that? It'd just be another layer of liability that a trucking company would have to pass would have if they pass someone that shouldn't have been passed. Reynolds himself was an over-the-road driver, training for 5 years with Gordon Trucking before transitioning to an off-road position with its safety department. He also spent a number of years training drivers for Indiana-based carrier Online Transport. While creating the driver school curriculum, he decided against applying to become a third-party tester, as he and the company felt it'd be a conflict of interest. "We saw fraud a few years ago when they allowed instructors to test their own students," Reynolds said. "As someone that created and ran a training program for a carrier, I understand the frustration with scheduling tests, but I'm not sure that is the answer." So yeah, a lot of these big brand companies that do CDL schools like TMC, Stevens Transport, I believe Snyder does it as well, just to name a few, they're not going to just pass you just to pass you. You're going to have to earn it because their company is at risk, so they're not going to color outside the lines just to appease you. You're going to have to earn it. But there's one more thing that I want to talk about before I get off this video for the day and hit the road. But it's just this is just to show you all what's been going on out here. And like I said, this is from 2022, so it's still pretty fresh in my mind. It's almost close to 2 years. But former DPS employees sentenced for bribery and fraud and CDL scheme. This happened in San Antonio. A San Antonio man was sentenced yesterday, and like I said, this happened back in July 7, 2022. A San Antonio man was sentenced yesterday to 24 months in prison for his role in the commercial driver's license bribery and fraud scheme. According to court documents, from January 2017 until June 2019, Alonzo Blackman, 68, was an employee of the Texas Department of Public Safety and oversaw the issuance of commercial driver's licenses. A CDL permits the holder to drive and operate large commercial vehicles and buses. To be eligible for a CDL, an applicant must pass a written exam and a skills test. Investigation revealed Blackman did not administer the skills test to applicants, but passed them as if they had been conducted. Blackman issued 215 fraudulent CDLs and was paid approximately $1,000 per CDL. Bribes were paid to Blackman by two co-defendants, Fernando Guardado Vasquez, 43 of San Antonio, and Marino Mari Diaz Leon, 55, a Cuban national living in San Antonio. Of the 215 fraudulent CDLs, 197 went to Cuban nationals, 11 to U.S. citizens, 1 to a Dominican Republic national, 1 to an Ethiopian national, 1 to an Iraqi national, 1 to a Puerto Rican national, 1 to a Ukrainian national, and 2 to Mexican nationals. On February 13, 2020, Blackman pled guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit mail and honest service fraud. In addition to the prison sentence, Blackman was ordered to pay a $215 money judgment. Co-defendant Diaz Leon also was sentenced today to 12 months and 1 day in prison. On May 26, 2021, Diaz Leon pled guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit mail fraud and honest service fraud. Co-defendant Vasquez is scheduled to be sentenced on August the 10th, 2022. On May the 9th, 2022, Vasquez pled guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit mail fraud and honest service fraud. This case represents an appalling breach of public trust and safety, said U.S. Attorney Ashley C. Hoff. Our office will continue to work with the FBI and our law enforcement partners to hold corrupt officials and those who conspire with them accountable for their criminal actions. The FBI is committed to working with our partners to hold public officials accountable to the trust bestowed upon them by the citizens we serve, said FBI Special Agent in Charge Oliver E. Rich. We will continue to aggressively investigate allegations of public corruption and would like to thank our partners for their strong partnership and unrelenting pursuit of justice. So, fraud is real in this field. It knows no boundaries. Please, please, please report it. Everybody does not need to be out there driving. Like, if you know you didn't earn that CDL, man, shame on you. And like I said, you know who you are. Like I said, this stuff is a detriment to our industry. And there's a reason why they keep pushing these automated trucks. Now, do I feel like they're going to take over the trucking industry? No. I feel like certain states will apply, the automated trucks, to their locations, but I don't feel that it'll take over trucking. But the more and more we see stuff like this, it like, you have to have that in the back of your mind, like, hey man, like, what's really going on out here? There's a reason why they keep pushing these automated trucks out here. There's a reason why some companies are leaning towards that. The truck is driving itself, but you still have to have a person in the truck with it. But you're on the passenger side and not the driver's seat. Like I said, these fraudulent cases are real. The accidents that occur, a lot of times, you come to find out, a lot of the drivers, they weren't even qualified, to be driving a truck, or if they do have the CDL, they're driving doubles and triples, but they don't have the endorsement. They're driving tankers, but they don't have the endorsement. They're driving hazmat, but don't have the endorsement. And that's all fraud. That's all fraud. So we got to just continue to keep the trucking community informed. I'm definitely going to do my part, and continue to talk about these subjects, because it's serious out here. It's serious out here. So you all let me know what you all think about this video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so on the road to 1K. But as always, I appreciate you all, and all you truckers, y'all keep it in the middle of the road. And I'm out.